Hello viewers, welcome to the Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this section, we regularly take editorials from various newspapers and news portals for a better understanding of various issues happening in India and around the globe. In this section, we first try to link the editorial with our UPSC syllabus, then we go analytical in order to understand some key points and at last some important concepts. Dear viewers, we truly hope that you like this initiative taken by Drishti IAS and your feedbacks are important for us. So kindly feel free to give your important feedbacks in the comment section. So without any further delay, let's commence our session.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
Today's editorial is taken from The Hindu, published on 17th of November 2020. The title of today's editorial is Threat or Treat. If we try to link today's editorial with our UPSC syllabus, we can link it with GS Paper 2 and primarily with the sections that include international relations. If we try to summarize today's editorial, we can say that the final agreement of RCEP covers various issues that India has flagged. Some key points from today's editorial. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership was signed into existence on Sunday by 15 countries led by China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand and the 10 ASEAN grouping, creating one of the world's largest trading blocs. Noticeable by its absence was India, which after 7 years of protracted negotiations decided last November to exit the grouping. As we all know, that on last Sunday, 15 countries, that means 10 members from ASEAN countries and remaining 5 FTA, the FTA member partners, which are Australia, Japan, China, New Zealand and Korea, South Korea to be precise, they have signed the RCEP, which is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. India decided to exit from this partnership last November because there were several issues that India has raised and nothing significant was done over those issues. Now, before we move ahead, it is quite important for us to understand what exactly the RCEP is. Now, RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, is a mega regional economic agreement being negotiated since 2012 between the ASEAN countries and the Free Trade Agreement members, the FTA, the Free Trade Agreement members partners, which I have already told you the names. The goal of the RCEP was to boost economic growth and equitable economic development, advanced economic cooperation, and also broaden, deepen integration in the region through the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. The aims which were decided to cover were to trade in goods and services, investment, economic and technical cooperation, intellectual property, and also dispute resolution between the member states. India has justified its decision as protecting its economy from burgeoning trade deficits with a majority of the 15 RCEP members and had cited the grouping's refusal to accede to its request on safeguard as a deal breaker. Now, India took the decision of exiting from the RCEP was because of one of the very important reasons. Because of growing trade deficit between the FTAs and the ASEAN members, India decided that if it becomes part of the RCEP, these deficits can definitely increase in the longer run. Also, those reasons were on the face of it justifiable at the time and were welcomed by industry, trade and farmer groups. So all the objections which were posed by India before the RCEP members, they were welcomed in India by everyone, be it the industry, be it the trade or the farmer groups. Everybody have appreciated that. However, 12 months down the road, India's opting out appears far more debatable in terms of its economic rationale. However, 12 months have been taken place since India decided that it wants to exit the RCEP. Now, there are several aspects on the front of India's economy, and it seems that the decision that India has taken to opt out of RCEP is quite debatable. With global trade and economy foundering on the shoals of COVID-19 pandemic, especially as new infections in US and Europe prompt fresh restrictions there, the preeminence of the East Asian and Pacific countries, including China, South Korea, Vietnam, Australia, New Zealand, serving as a bulwark in containing the pandemic and re-energizing economic activity can hardly be understated. Now, like we know that due to COVID-19, the global trade and economies all around the globe, they have suffered big time. Also, a recent new surgence, or you can say a new wave of corona pandemic, can be observed in various countries of Europe and US. However, during this point of time, during this duration, several East Asian countries and also Pacific countries that include China, South Korea, New Zealand, etc., they have actually created a wall against this pandemic, and they are actually focusing upon and energizing upon their increasing economic activity. So this aspect, it definitely can't be ignored. Add to this the heightened tariff uncertainty generated by the deadlocked Brexit negotiations between the Britain and the European Union, and it becomes evident that India may have missed a vital opportunity. Now, there is one of the most important reasons why India decided not to become a part of RCEP was with respect to the tariffs. This segment will be discussed in the later half of the video. Okay, so this is something with reference to the RCEP and what has happened in the recent past. It should be noted that for the first time, the RCEP negotiations were launched between the 10 ASEAN member states and 6 ASEAN FTA, that is Free Trade Agreement partner. Initially, it was 6 because it included India at that point of time. But now it's just 5 because India has opted out. During the 21st ASEAN Summit, this idea was proposed for the first time in 2012 during the 21st ASEAN Summit in Cambodia. Now, if we talk about the reasons why India has decided to opt out of RCEP, what exactly were India's concern, we will actually try to understand that particular aspect. Now, India dropped out of RCEP in November 2019 because of several reasons. Number one reason, foremost reason, the increasing trade deficit. Okay, the increasing trade deficit. This was one of the biggest concerns. Now, why this was a bigger concern? We'll see. Now, India's trade deficit with ASEAN, Korea, Japan, it has increased. It has increased quite a lot. Second, the second condition that said tariff elimination will take place if India becomes a partner of RCEP. Now, tariffs, okay, the tariffs which are applied on various products. See, if tariff eliminations take place and India is a partner of RCEP, this situation can definitely worsen the trade deficit, which was in 2018-19 amounted at 105.29 billion US dollars. Okay, 105.29 billion dollars. Okay, this was the trade deficit between India and others in 2018-2019. Now, RCEP proposes that 92% of Indian goods would be tariff-free for a period of next 15 years. That means when India becomes a partner of RCEP, all the Indian goods and products will be free. Almost like 92% of the Indian products will be free of any tariff. That means no tariff will be applied on those products. India have to slash existing tariffs on up to 90%, like for if we talk about as a whole for all the products. So India will have to definitely slash tariffs on all the products by at least 90%. For example, if we are collecting a tariff of 100 rupees right now on all the products, according to RCEP, if India becomes a member of it, India has to slash that 100 rupees into only 10 rupees. That means an outright loss of 90 rupees on India's front. Now, if India became a partner of RCEP and India had to slash the tariffs, then there would be a direct impact on the import duties as well, because import duties are a great source of revenue for India. It could experience a loss in its custom revenues as well. Okay, so this was the concern. Now, another problem was India's trade deficit with China right now stands at around 53 billion US dollars. Now, we all know that there will be no tariffs for every country. That means for China as well. Now, the further reduction or removal of custom tariffs will lead to what? It will lead to an influx of cheaper products from China into our country. And our trade deficit with China can definitely increase. And also, if there is an influx of Chinese goods in Indian market, then what will happen about Indian producers or Indian manufacturers? Okay. Now, these were several issues. Now, what were the objections that were actually raised by India? Now, we have to see what exactly were the objections that were raised by India. Number one, base year for tariffs. Now, base year for tariff, it was said that the RCEP will result in reduction of tariff in all member countries. Because negotiations began in 2013, the pact has proposed that the base year for reducing tariff will be 2013. That means since 2013, whatever tariffs have been so far have been collected, it will be handed over. Okay, India was constantly saying, if you want to keep a concept of base year, then the base year has to be 2019 and not 2030. Okay. Second, the ratchet obligation. It is quite important for us to understand what exactly the ratchet obligation is. Okay, quite important. Now, what exactly ratchet obligation? First of all, India has said India wanted exemptions on the ratchet obligation. Now, what exactly ratchet obligation or ratchet mechanism is? A ratchet mechanism means that if a country signs a trade agreement with another country and removes or reduces tariffs and quotas, it cannot go back on them and bring in more restrictive measures. So this was the ratchet obligation. India wanted an exemption on this, but RCEP did not accept it. Then data localization, very important. As part of the RCEP, India wanted all countries to have the right to protect data. Okay, the countries may prevent the transfer of information across borders. This was again data localization. This was again a concern that was raised by India. Another concern raised by India was with reference to the service sectors. India demanded that the ASEAN countries should open up their services sectors so that Indian professionals and Indian workers can have easier entry into their market. However, if we talk about the ASEAN countries, they are very sensitive about protecting the service sector and have not offered much liberalization even within the bloc to each other. Okay. Next, another concern was the rules of origin. India wants strict rules of origin. Why? In order to prevent Chinese goods from flooding the country through member states that may have lower or no duty levels. We can take the best example of the Chinese garments. Now, Chinese garments are making their way into India through the duty-free route under the South Asia Free Trade Pact and duty-free, quota-free window from Bangladesh. So what exactly China is doing? China is dumping its garments into India through the various routes of South Asia Free Trade Pact and also the duty-free, quota-free window from Bangladesh. Okay, so this was something with reference to India, the concern that India raised. Now, let's move ahead. Given that the RCEP members now account for around about 30% of the global GDP, a third of the world's population, the signatory states were emphatic that the timing of the accord presents a unique opportunity to support their economic recovery, inclusive development, job creation, even as it helps strengthen regional supply chains. Now, we all know that RCEP members, they account for almost 30% of the global GDP, okay, and for almost around one third of the world's population. So the states who have signed the RCEP, they were quite emphatic for various several reasons, such as this signing will actually support their economic recovery, also will help in the inclusive development, in job creation, and also it will strengthen and regulate the regional supply chains as well. See, even though there are several ASEAN countries who have disputes with China with reference to boundary or with reference to South China Sea, yet countries like Vietnam, Philippines, they have actually signed this agreement that also has China, because they realized that it will be a better initiative for them if they want to have inclusive development and an economic recovery in their country. Other larger nations in the grouping have chosen to bury their geopolitical differences with China in order to prioritize what they collectively see as a mutually beneficial trading compact that would benefit their economies over the longer term, is the clearest testament to economic realism trumping nationalist policies. See, most important thing which all the countries have done is they have actually tried to forget the geopolitical differences with China. Every country is actually focusing on mutual benefit. If China is getting benefit, then definitely the other countries will also have some or other kind of benefits with the signing of the RCEP. So they have considered the longer term picture rather than focusing on the issues related to geopolitics. They have actually decided to focus on the longer term, and it clearly shows that economic recovery is the objective of each and every country at this point of time. Way ahead. Also, the summary of the final agreement shows that the pact does not cover an attempt to address that issues India has flagged, including the rules of origin, trade in services, movement of person, and crucially, remedies and safeguards. See, the final agreement, okay, if you look at the summary of the final agreement, it also has mentioned these issues which were presented by India. They have said that these issues raised by India have not been forgotten. They will be taken into consideration once everything starts working in a smoother manner. So we cannot say that all the issues raised by India have been forgotten. They have directly said no, there shall be no talk. No, nothing like this has happened. The RCEP and the member states have decided, yes, we will answer to these issues as well. But initially, the primary objective is for the opening of this partnership. Acknowledging India's economic heft and value as a market, the RCEP members have not only left the door open should New Delhi reconsider its stance, but also have waived a key 18-month cooling period for interested applicant. Every country, including China and all the members who have signed RCEP, they know and they realize that what economic potential India has got, how big market India is and can be in the future. So they have not closed the window for India. They have kept it open, and there will be a reconsideration, as all these countries want India to be a part of RCEP. It would be in India's interest to dispassionately review its position and embrace openness rather than protectionism. Now it absolutely depends upon India, and India has to be quite careful. India has to consider each and every aspect. Once every aspect is being considered, then India should decide what exactly shall be good for the nation. The government at this point of time has to think very carefully. It has to consider each and every aspect. Once it has been thought clearly, definitely the decision taken by the government will be, of course, for no doubt, good and for a greater deal for the country. So viewers, this was with today's editorial. Now the question that can be asked with reference to today's editorial is, analyze the factors and implications of India's exit from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP. Discuss in 250 words. So viewers, this was with today's editorial. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much.